Bill found Anna's old phone in a box of forgotten things. He almost didn't turn it on. The battery was low, dust collected in the charging port, and it was buried beneath a tangle of broken chargers and expired warranties. But something, maybe boredom, maybe instinct, pushed his thumb to the power button. The screen flickered. A breath caught in his throat. What loaded was not just an old device. It was a window into another life. Their life, or rather, the one he thought they shared. But behind the wallpaper of their smiling kids and vacation sunsets, there were messages. Images. Recordings. A voice note from Alex, his old friend. "I can still taste the wine on your lips." A photo, Anna, wrapped in a blanket on the terrace, lit by string lights and secrets. And a text she sent the next morning, unprompted. "I can still feel your scent on me. What have we done?" Bill didn't move. He didn't breathe. His fingers hovered above the screen like they were holding a match over gasoline. Outside, the sprinklers ticked on in the front yard. Inside, time cracked in half. He thought about the night it happened. The night after that long dinner on the coast, when the kids were asleep, when the adults stayed up late with wine and music. He dozed off on the couch, full and happy. And apparently, blind. Anna had stayed outside with Alex. Laughter first. Then a kiss. Then. Bill stared at the messages until his hands began to tremble. Not with rage. Not yet. That would come later. What he felt first was a hollowing, as if someone had reached inside his chest and carved out everything warm and whole. And the worst part? It hadn't just been Anna who betrayed him. It was Alex. His friend. His brother, in all but name. And now, 1 year later, the truth had found its way back to him. Via a dead phone. Via ghosts that refused to stay buried. Before the betrayal, there was peace. Not perfect peace, they had their arguments, like anyone, but it was a life that felt earned. Built brick by brick. 10 years of marriage. A shared business, 2 children, a modest house tucked into the hills just north of San Diego. Mornings began with the kids yelling over cereal, and evenings ended with tired bodies tucked into bed, the scent of lavender detergent rising from the sheets. Bill was a man of quiet rituals. He packed the school lunches, made the coffee the way Anna liked, 1 sugar, no cream. He coached Liam's soccer team on Saturdays and took their daughter Ellie to the farmer's market on Sundays, where she'd inspect peaches like a tiny, discerning chef. Anna worked with him in the real estate business, she handled the staging and the vision, he took care of the contracts and numbers. They were a good team, everyone said so. Even when they fought together, with the assumption that they'd come out on the other side of it stronger. And Bill, he loved her. Not in some fragile, adolescent way, but with the steady warmth of a man who had chosen his wife every day since their wedding. He remembered how beautiful she looked in her grandmother's lace veil, how she danced barefoot at their reception under fairy lights strung between trees. He remembered the little things, how she always ordered dessert but never finished it, how she loved the ocean but hated the sand, how she folded her legs beneath her when she read, always fiction, never non-fiction, because reality has enough sharp edges. And she smiled around him. That had been the quiet triumph of their early years, how much she laughed when it was just them. So when Mary invited them to that villa in Napa last summer, a joint vacation, for adults, for kids, Bill saw it as a chance to unwind. Reconnect. Recharge. The vineyard estate was beautiful, perched on a hill with a wraparound deck and distant views of the valley. They spent long afternoons by the pool, long dinners by candlelight. He watched Anna in those days. Something had changed. Her laugh had returned, unburdened, frequent, real. There was color in her cheeks again. At the time, he told himself it was the wine, the freedom, the friendships. She looked young again, wild in a way that had been buried under years of parenting and logistics. And she was close with Alex. Bill noticed it, sure. The way their chairs angled toward each other. The way she laughed at his jokes, even the dumb ones. But Bill had known Alex for years. They'd met in college, bonded over late-night poker games and first heartbreaks. Alex was easy. Charismatic. A little reckless, maybe. But loyal. Or so Bill had thought. Alex was married to Mary. They had 2 kids as well. Their lives mirrored each other's, just enough to feel safe. Bill had no reason to be suspicious. He remembered one particular night, the night everything had happened, though he hadn't known it then. They'd stayed up late on the terrace. The adults, anyway. The kids were inside watching a movie, already nodding off. Bill had one too many glasses of Merlot. He remembered the sting of the night air on his skin as he dozed off on the couch inside, music drifting through the open windows. Anna had stayed out with Alex. He remembered waking up briefly, hearing laughter from the patio, then drifting back to sleep. He told himself later that they were probably just talking. Catching up. She'd always been close to their circle of friends. But now, with the old messages and photos in his hands, those memories turned inside out. What had seemed like harmless moments now pulsed with hidden context. Every touch, every glance, they all acquired weight. And yet, Bill didn't rage. He didn't scream. Not then. Instead, he folded the memories carefully, like old clothes in a drawer. He studied them. Analyzed them. Not because he was cold, but because if he let the full pain in all at once, it would burn him alive. There was still too much at stake. The children. The business. The house filled with birthdays and tooth fairy notes and Lego mines on the carpet. He looked at Anna differently now, not with hate, but with a kind of stunned reverence. Like a man who discovers that the statue he's polished for years was hollow all along. And even then, there were moments when he wondered, why? Why, when they had something real? Had he not seen her? Had she felt lonely? Was it about Alex, or was it about herself? Those questions grew louder in the silence. And Bill, methodical as ever, began to search for answers. Not vengeance. Understanding. Because before you can tear down a house, you have to walk its rooms one last time. At first, the signs felt like small inconveniences, shifts in mood, tiny interruptions in the rhythm they'd spent a decade perfecting. Anna had always been a little mercurial, a woman who needed space the way others needed sleep. But this was different. She began to hum again. That was the first real clue, though Bill didn't recognize it at the time. Not a cheerful hum, not a tune for the kids or a melody she wanted to share. It was soft, inward, unconscious. A secret kept in sound. She hummed while she cooked, while folding laundry, while putting on makeup in the mirror. It was as if something inside her had come alive again, something that didn't include him. Bill noticed she started wearing that green silk blouse more often, the one with the plunging neckline, the one she used to save for their anniversaries. Her hair was different too, more effort, a straighter part, curled at the ends. Subtle, but deliberate. She was smiling more, but not at him. And then came the phone. She used to leave it charging in the kitchen, plugged in like any other appliance. But now it was always with her, in her back pocket, in her purse, under her pillow at night. Once, Bill woke up to use the bathroom and saw the screen light up in the dark. She was asleep beside him, breathing evenly. He watched the screen dim again before he could make out the sender. He didn't touch it. He didn't need to. Doubt had already rooted itself inside him, and doubt doesn't need proof to grow, only silence. One morning, while Anna was in the shower, her iPad pinged on the kitchen counter. A message preview popped up. You looked amazing last night. No name. No image. Just words, casual and electric. Bill stood frozen, one hand still on the fridge door. He didn't open it. He didn't scroll. He couldn't. Something inside him, pride, maybe, or fear, kept him still. When Anna walked into the kitchen 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel, she didn't notice the way he looked at her. But Bill noticed everything, how she avoided his eyes, how she pretended not to notice the tablet had moved 2 inches to the left. That night, she came to bed late. Said she had emails to finish. Work had been stressful lately, she added, without him asking. He nodded. Pretended to sleep. And lay awake for hours listening to the whisper of her breath, steady and distant. Something was shifting between them, not in a loud, catastrophic way, but like furniture being rearranged in a room you used to know by heart. You still found your way, but you kept stubbing your toe in the dark. He started paying attention in a way he hadn't in years. Watching her, yes, but also listening. To her tone when she said his name. To the pauses in their conversations. To the absences that used to feel temporary, but now felt loaded. She was home less. Stayed late at work more often. She laughed less with the kids. Her hugs were hurried. When Liam fell off his bike and came in crying with a scraped knee, it was Bill who knelt to clean it. Anna had barely looked up from her laptop. And then there were Alex and Mary. Bill had stopped by their house one afternoon to return a wrench Alex had loaned him months ago. The door was ajar. Kids' bikes scattered on the lawn. Inside, he heard voices, Mary and someone else. He knocked. Mary opened the door, surprised, disheveled. "Hey," she said quickly, blocking the view inside with her body. "Alex isn't here." Bill offered a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just dropping this off." He handed her the wrench. She took it, then hesitated, as if something was caught behind her teeth. "You okay?" he asked, casually. She paused for too long. Then nodded. "Yeah. Just tired." But she wouldn't meet his gaze. And her voice trembled, just a little, when she said goodbye. Later that evening, Bill asked Anna if she'd seen Mary lately. "Not really," she said, wiping off her makeup in the bathroom. "Why?" "No reason," he said. "Just thought I'd check in." That night, he dreamed of the villa. The terrace. The wine. Alex's laughter echoing off stone. Anna in a sundress, barefoot, her skin sun-warmed. The sound of footsteps in the dark. 2 shadows crossing into the trees. He woke up sweating. The bed empty beside him. He checked the clock. 3:08 a.m. Anna was downstairs. On her laptop. A single lamp lit the living room. She didn't hear him approach. When he asked what she was doing, she flinched. "Couldn't sleep," she said, closing the laptop too fast. "Work stuff." Bill nodded. He didn't believe her. And something inside him, something old and quiet and tender, began to fracture. Not completely. Not yet. But the crack had begun. And cracks have a way of letting the truth seep through. It began like all unravelings do, not with a confrontation, but with a question that refused to leave. What have I missed? Bill became a quiet archivist of his own life. He didn't accuse. He collected. Patterns. Inconsistencies. Silences. He kept a notepad in the glove box of his car and began scribbling observations. Friday, March 10th, Anna left for client dinner at 6:30. Returned at 10:50. Lipstick smudged. Smelled like citrus cologne. Wednesday, March 15th, she laughed at a message on her phone and turned the screen away. Saturday, March 18th, Alex dropped off their son's baseball glove. Stayed too long. Didn't look me in the eye. It wasn't paranoia. It was evidence, the kind of evidence only a man who still wanted to believe would bother gathering. The man who rages is already done. The man who watches is still hoping to be proven wrong. One afternoon, he found himself alone in the garage, sorting through old boxes. He wasn't sure what he was looking for. Distraction, maybe. But then he opened a plastic bin marked, Cabo 22, Electronics, and found something he'd thought long gone, his drone kit from last year's trip to Napa. Battery dead. Case dusty. And wedged in the bottom, a memory card he'd written off as damaged. He charged it. Plugged it into his laptop. Clicked through files, mostly aerial views of the vineyard, the pool, the kids laughing below like dots of joy. And then, a clip, only 23 seconds long, labeled DSC_0421.mov. It was a night shot. The drone was flying lower than usual, perhaps during landing. The grainy image showed the beach path by the cliff's edge. 2 figures walking. Close. Then stopping. One leaned into the other. He paused the video. Rewound. Watched again. It was Anna. Even in low resolution, he knew the curve of her jaw, the way she reached up when she was cold, her hand lightly gripping her elbow. And the man beside her, taller, broader. The same slouch. The same stride. Alex. They embraced briefly. Not passionate. Not desperate. But familiar. Intimate. Enough to break something sacred. Bill sat there in the dim garage light, not crying, not speaking. Just still. Like a man watching the tide come in, knowing it will take something from him when it leaves. That evening, Anna came home late again. Her voice bright, a little forced. Sorry, client dinner went long. They had questions about the new listings. Bill nodded from the kitchen table. You see Alex lately? She hesitated. No. Why? Just wondering, he said, taking a sip of wine. She smiled, and in that smile was something like pity. Or fear. The next day, Bill called Mary. She sounded surprised to hear from him. They hadn't spoken alone in months. Maybe years. I was hoping to ask you something, he said, keeping his voice neutral. About last summer. Silence. Then, you already know, don't you? He didn't answer. Mary exhaled, slowly. I suspected it before you did. But I didn't have the stomach to confirm it. I didn't want to believe it either. Bill gripped the edge of the countertop. Did it happen more than once? I don't know, she said. But Alex, he has a pattern. That trip wasn't the first time. Just the first time it hurt someone I couldn't lie to. She didn't sound angry. Just tired. Like someone who had long since stopped expecting fidelity but still mourned its absence. Bill thanked her quietly. Hung up. And sat there in silence for a long time, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the house. 2 nights later, he invited them all over, Anna, Alex, and Mary, under the pretense of dinner. A casual gathering. No occasion. Anna wore the blue dress he once told her was his favorite. Her hair was done the way it used to be, loosely curled at the ends. Alex brought wine. Mary brought silence. Bill poured drinks, made small talk, served the pasta. And then, without a word, he pressed play. The TV screen blinked to life. The drone footage filled the room, the beach, the shadows, the embrace. Anna froze. The wineglass in her hand trembled. Alex let out a low, incredulous laugh. Oh, come on, he said. It was, one time. Mary stood so abruptly her chair scraped back. She left the room without a word. Anna's face was pale, her hands clenched in her lap. Bill, she started. But Bill didn't answer. He simply stood, nodded once, and walked out of the room. And in that silence, louder than shouting, was the sound of something ending. The days after the dinner were strangely quiet. Not peaceful, no, peace implies resolution. This was something else. A silence full of shards. The kind you walk through carefully, because any misstep might open an old wound or create a new one. Anna didn't move out immediately. She hovered. Haunted the edges of their home like a ghost of herself, setting the table for 4 even though no one had asked her to. Sitting beside Bill on the couch but saying nothing, her hands folded in her lap like she was waiting for a verdict. He didn't give her one. Not yet. Instead, he moved through the house with a sort of reverent detachment, tucking Ellie into bed, packing Liam's soccer gear, cooking eggs for breakfast and washing the plates in silence. He was still there, but the version of him that had once reached for Anna's hand in the dark was already fading. The man who had loved her in full, who built his life around her, was in the process of becoming someone else. One night, as the kids slept and the hallway light buzzed softly above them, she finally spoke. "I don't know what to say to make this right." Bill didn't look up from the sink. "That's because you can't." She stepped closer. Her voice cracked. "It wasn't supposed to happen." He turned, dried his hands slowly on a dish towel. "But it did." Anna's eyes filled. Not the theatrical kind, not the manipulative, performative grief he feared. Real tears. Slow, restrained. The kind that made her lips tremble against her will. "It was just that night," she whispered. "After the wine. After you fell asleep. I felt invisible, Bill. Not unloved. Just unseen." He nodded once. "So you made yourself visible to Alex." "It wasn't about him." "Of course it was," he said quietly. "And it wasn't just that night." She blinked. "You don't know that." "I do. I know the way you smiled at your phone. The way you hummed in the kitchen when you thought I wasn't listening. I know the video. I know the text you sent him the morning after, 'I can still feel your scent on me.'" She flinched like he'd slapped her. Bill stepped past her, toward the living room, but she followed. "You think I didn't feel guilty," she said. "You think I didn't hate myself after that night?" "No," he said over his shoulder. "I think you hated getting caught." That hit her like a body blow. She sank onto the edge of the couch. "I didn't plan it. I didn't go looking for it." He turned then. Slowly. The quiet anger in his chest had solidified into something colder now, not rage, but reckoning. "And yet you found it. You chose it. Every time you stayed late. Every lie you fed me. Every glance across the room when you thought I wasn't watching." Anna stood, her voice rising now. "I've lived in this house, Bill. I've raised our children. I've put everything I had into this family, into you. But somewhere along the way, I got buried under it. And Alex, he just saw what I'd forgotten I was." "And what was that?" Bill asked. "A woman," she whispered. "Not a mother. Not a partner in a business. A woman. Desired. Not taken for granted." He stared at her, and for a long moment, he felt the weight of her truth. Not because he agreed. But because it was real, and it wasn't simple. Her betrayal wasn't an accident. But neither was the loneliness she'd lived with. Still, he said nothing. She stepped closer, voice shaking now. "I don't want to lose this, Bill. I don't want to lose you." "You already did," he said, and turned away again. But she wasn't done. That night, after the kids had gone to sleep, she came to him with a letter in her hand. "I wrote something," she said. "For you." He took it. Held it like something dangerous. He didn't open it. Not yet. Anna's face was raw now, stripped of pretense. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I'll leave. I'll sign anything you want. But I need you to know this, I never stopped loving you. Even when I forgot how to show it. Even when I broke everything. That love didn't go away. Bill looked down at the envelope. When he finally spoke, it was with a kind of grace that surprised even him. "I believe you." She blinked. "But love," he continued, "isn't always enough." He handed her a letter of his own, one he'd written the night after the video, folded carefully and sealed. She didn't open it. Not yet. He watched her walk away, the quiet click of the door behind her sounding nothing like goodbye, but everything like the end. And when he turned off the lights that night, the house felt different. Not empty. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Thursday morning. Bill arrived early. Sat in his truck outside the courthouse, engine idling, watching water bead and race across the windshield. Inside the cab, it was warm. Quiet. He could have turned on the radio, but he didn't. He wanted to hear nothing. Just the soft ticking of his turn signal as it clicked on and off. Like a heart trying to decide which direction to go. Anna showed up 10 minutes late. Her umbrella flipped inside out in the wind. She wrestled it back into shape, smoothed her soaked blouse, and caught sight of Bill through the glass doors. She didn't wave. Just walked in. The court session was short. Unceremonious. Names. Signatures. Property division already settled. Joint custody arranged. Paper passed to paper until the gavel dropped like the final line in a novel. And just like that, a decade unraveled with a single sound. Outside, she waited for him. The rain had softened to a mist now. Her hair clung to her forehead. Her arms crossed like she was trying to hold something inside her chest. "Do you have a minute?" she asked. He hesitated, then nodded. They walked in silence to the parking lot. Stopped beneath the overhang where the light was dull and the wind couldn't reach them. "I read your letter," she said quietly. He didn't respond. "I wanted to throw it out." At first, she admitted, a rueful smile on her lips. "But I didn't. I read it again. And again." She looked up at him, not pleading. Just, present. "You were right, you know. You were always seeing me. Even when I didn't want to be seen." Bill's jaw tightened. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small envelope, the one he'd given her weeks before. "I keep this with me," she said. "I don't know why. Maybe because it's the only thing you ever gave me that wasn't trying to fix something." She opened it now. The ink was slightly smudged from being handled too much. "I forgive you. But I don't return it. I am alive. That means I can still love. Just not you." Tears welled in her eyes. But she didn't wipe them away. She let them fall, slow and unhidden. "I didn't deserve that kindness," she said. "But I needed it. Thank you." Bill looked at her, really looked, and saw not a villain. Not a monster. Just a woman standing in the wreckage of her own choices, trying to salvage something of herself. "You're right," he said softly. "You didn't deserve it." She nodded, accepting the wound. "But neither did I deserve the lie." There it was. The line that would never be crossed again. A car horn sounded down the street. The world moved on around them, indifferent, as it should be. "I hope you find someone who makes you feel like a woman," he said. "But more than that, I hope you learn how to feel it without someone else having to give it to you." Anna blinked. That one landed deeper than any accusation ever could. She turned to leave. Paused. "Tell Liam I'll be by at 6. Ellie too." He nodded. As she walked away, the wind picked up again. Bill shoved his hands deep into his pockets. The cold didn't bother him. Not anymore. That weekend, he bought a bike. Something sleek but simple. Black frame, no bells or nonsense. Just enough for him to ride the coast at dawn, when the air still held the night. He started running again. Not far. Not fast. But enough to make him feel the pull in his lungs, the rhythm in his blood. He signed up for therapy. Sat in a small office that smelled like pine-scented candles and old carpet. Talked to a man named Roger who asked quiet questions and didn't interrupt the silences. At first, Bill told himself he was doing it for the kids. To stay grounded. To cope. But deep down, he knew, he was doing it to remember himself.